Let's take one more for and then to all of you guys, we have so many people to thank. Customers, agents, venues, competitors have all backed us and supported us and funded us. And it's outstanding that we're nearly £300,000 for. And this generosity has allowed us to get our court hearing on the 28th of November. So fingers crossed, we'll have a positive result by December 5th. And we need to thank you all for that. And sorry, hang on. Yeah, and win or lose, we still hope to change the landscape for all venues in London and create a fairer process of how licensing law is applied to protect venues in the future. We'd also like to try and give something back to the community that supported us by setting up a financial trust fund to help and support other venues if they ever find themselves in trouble. Yeah, thanks again. If we continue to stand together like this, the future must be bright for London's nightlife. Thank you to Nicole and Alan.
Well done, guys. Thank you very much. They're still in the eye of the storm. Let's hear it. Fabric. Come on. We are Fabric. We're all Fabric today. This is who we are. So I'm now going to ask someone else to come who's going to speak, because it's great there's been so much attention around Fabric, but in the context of everything that's been happening, what's happened is, right, this is what we talk about, setting a precedent. A precedent's been set where the police have said, and I know you know the story, just to remind ourselves, some of these stories get a bit boring, but we need to remind ourselves, they have had like an expedited review, right, which means they get closed down immediately. They can't trade whilst they're open. That's why we've had a fundraiser, and that's going really well. It's a real problem. We said if you do that with Fabric, and on the basis of what you've done, you can do it to every bar and club in Britain. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, Mode in Ackham Street in West London have an expedited review, right? There's an incident. Now, I watched the CCTV, and as I told you before, I grew up in London where there was lots of fighting, and I've seen lots of fighting, and I was expecting to see this terrible tear-up. It was absolute. Now, Mode have been closed down, and Lucy's going to talk to us a bit about this. Mode has been closed down on the basis of a serious offence. There's no crime that's been reported and no crime being prosecuted. And they use an expedited review to close it down, which means that if you want to appeal it, same as Fabric, you have to now do it whilst you're closed and have a lot of money. Now, if you're an independent, that's it, you're done. Now, as it happens, fortunately, some people then, Lucy will talk a bit about it a bit more, are going to be prepared to do something and fight back. But we need to have our voices heard and say this is not really on. Right? It's unacceptable if someone comes along here and does something at a shopping centre or does something at a school or something else. You don't shut those places down, not at Ascot, not anywhere else. But if they come to Mode, why is it that because someone behaves badly, we're having a venue closed down? Unacceptable. That needs to change. So the campaign with Fabric is challenging that. It's going to go to the Home Office to change guidance. Right, so in licensing within a few months, the guidance to local councillors, and it gets a bit complicated, but local councillors are the ones that make these decisions, right? The guidance will change to say, we hope, you can't hold venues accountable for personal behaviour. And it shouldn't just be the police that disproportionately hurt. Now, these two things are really important. But also what's important is that you all have your voices heard and get on savenightlife.com and tell the MPs and councillors, because they often think, like with We Love Hackney, the residents have had enough. They talk about urine and vomit. They've had enough. We say, what residents? It's all the residents have had enough. Too much. We need a zone. Too many noisy people. Too much. And then you get the residents out. You start asking them, and that's what we did with We Love Hackney. And it turns out the 3 times the amount of people who voted for their most popular councillor love nightlife, and they say they want more of it, and they think it's fantastic. And then they start thinking, oh my goodness, well, if all these people start voting, which they haven't, because young people don't vote because they think it's not worth it. But if all these people start voting for councillors and MPs, we may not have a job, so we better listen to them. But even more, you should think about how much power we've actually got, right? You can have your voices heard, and we can have leverage, and we can make a difference, but we've got to come out and step up and do that. So I'd like you all to give a warm round of applause to Lucy Hurley, who's going to come and represent Mode. She's a specialist in licensing. Let's give some round of applause to Lucy.